so much for joining me today. I'm Sarah James from Soap School, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make rosemary soap at home. We've got some really simple ingredients and it's a soap that I absolutely love. I'm going to be using a colourant that you might not have seen before, and I'm going to be doing this as a slab. So come on and join me, we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. Now I'm using a fairly simple soap recipe for this, and you can find the recipe in the description underneath the video, so do check it out. Making rosemary soap at home is something that you can use with very, very simple ingredients. You don't need anything fancy at all for this. So my oils, my pre-warmed oils, are going into my mixing vessel, and I'm just doing it in here so you can see it a little bit better. So these are my oils. I also have some rosemary essential oil, and I've got some dried rosemary. Now, I absolutely love using rosemary in different forms. So this is just what you're probably used to for rosemary. It's the leaves, and you probably cook with this. It's absolutely beautiful. In fact, it's widely used through the Mediterranean for cooking as well as skincare products. But when these dry, they become really, really tiny, and they get chopped up into these little tiny pieces. So you can actually dry these down yourself. And sometimes I actually infuse these in the oil and make my own rosemary oils as well. So whichever way you prefer to do it, there's no right or wrong with this at all. So the first thing is to always consider your safety. So we're going to get the gloves on. I'm going to go ahead and add my lye solution into my oils. I'm just going to give that a little bit of a stir before we start. So I would love to know if rosemary is an oil that you like. I know it's not for everybody. It's got a very herbaceous note to it, quite a strong herbaceous note. It's quite similar in some ways to eucalyptus, and also similar to lavender. Some lavenders can have a very herbaceous note as well. Now I've forgotten to do something which is a little bit silly, so I'm actually going to stop right there because I want to add a colour into this, and it's much easier to add the colour at the beginning because it's going to give it a much bigger time to be mixed and wetted. And I'm using a colourant that you might not have seen or heard of before. So let's just quickly have a look at this. This is hydrated chromium green oxide. It's a beautiful, vibrant colour. It really is such a strong colour. And you're probably used to the normal chromium green oxide, which is much more of an olive tone than this. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Now this is going to need pre-wetting, so I'm going to use a little bit of our liquid soap, and I'm just going to mix it before we add it in. This is a little bit silly, I should have really mixed it in with the oils at the beginning, but you're going to make these mistakes too. So in goes my colour. I'm just using half a teaspoon, and I'm just going to pour off just a little bit of my soap. Normally that would just be the oils that I mix into there, and we're just going to give that a good blend. See how vibrant that mix is? It's so strong. It's an absolutely beautiful colourant. It really is one of my favourites. So now when I add this into my oils, I'm going to get a much smoother colour. Now I actually don't mind with this one if it is a little bit more speckled. I think it adds to the effect of the product. Alright, now we're back to where we should be. So I'm going to just quickly hand stir this in. You see how lovely that colourant is? And that was only half a teaspoon. And this isn't a mica, it's a pigment. And now I'm going to give it a buzz. Isn't that beautiful colour? It will of course be a little bit paler than that when it settles down, but it's going to be gorgeous. So I'd love to know, is this a colour that you've used? Is it one that you've heard of? I used to use this a lot when I made mineral makeup. I could get greens that were just very, very different for colour correcting with this colour. Much better than just using the regular chromium green oxide. That's nice. We're already at a good trace. So I'm going to add my essential oils now, and I'm just using straight rosemary. You absolutely don't have to. You could mix this with other oils too. Rosemary goes with quite a lot of essential oils. It goes nicely with lemon or lemongrass, and it's great with lavender. It softens it when you add the lavender in. And you can make it even more herbaceous by using the eucalyptus. But I just want this to be straight rosemary. I haven't had a rosemary soap for ages. This is going to be just lovely. I'm just going to take it a little bit further. Rosemary can thin your batter a little bit, and I do want it a little bit thicker than this, just so that I can actually put the rosemary on the top. So I'm sure you've probably all used or eaten rosemary, but I wonder whether you've actually used it in your skincare. It is a very, very popular product. It's actually used, I think, more in hair care than it is in skincare, but it's just so lovely. Now, rosemary has some great natural properties. It's a natural antiseptic. It's got natural antimicrobial properties as well. Oh my goodness, look at that. Doesn't that look gorge? Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to scrape every little scrap of that out because that's just too delicious to not use. Get all of that in there. There was actually a study done by the University of Catania, I think that's how you pronounce it, and they showed that rosemary essential oil showed significant improvement to the skin's hydration and elasticity. So that's exactly the kind of thing that will be super helpful. So let's hope that we have some of those in our lovely soap. Be kind of cool. Oh, that looks so good. So you know that we just used a very tiny amount of colorant. There was very little in there at all. But doesn't that look so lovely? And to finish this one off, all I'm going to use is my dried rosemary. And I'm literally just going to take this and sprinkle it all over the top. Just gently. I want a nice sprinkling and covering across the whole soap. I put this onto a tray, and that's because I find that these particular types of moulds often warp a little bit at the bottom. So if we try and move this whilst the soap isn't fully set, it just distorts the whole thing and makes a real mess. So I want something a little bit more stable underneath it. Oh, this just is gorgeous. It smells heavenly. And I think that's probably enough. So there is our rosemary soap that you can make at home really, really easily. Now we have used a colorant in here, and you don't have to use that colorant. So if you want to keep this just in its natural creamy ivory color, then you absolutely could. That would still look beautiful, really stunning in that simplicity. If you have got colorants already at home, whether it be this one or the regular chromium green oxide, it doesn't matter at all. Now I know this sounds strange, but I'm not going to do anything else to this at all. I'm totally going to leave it. I'm not even going to put it under the blankets. And this is one of the few times that I actually would like some soda ash. I know that sounds really weird, right? Normally we do everything that we can to not have soda ash, but I actually think soda ash on this soap actually enhances the more rustic look of it. I just think it just really looks great. So I'm actually hoping that if I don't insulate it and I just leave it, I'm going to get a little bit of ash on the top. So we'll come back tomorrow, and you know what? We will see what happens. The chances are it's going to be one of those times when it doesn't ash at all, and it's going to be flipping perfect. But we will see. So I look forward to seeing you when we cut the soap. Hang around because it won't be 2 seconds. Now, if you have enjoyed being with me today, why not click on the subscribe button, and if you ding that bell, you'll get notified every time that we bring you a new video, and you can hang out with us another time too. Did you miss me? It's done! Doesn't that look absolutely beautiful? I was hoping for a little bit of soda ash in this one. And of course, when you don't want it, it's always there. And when you actually do want it, it's not going to play with you. So I'm just going to turn this out of the mould. It still smells absolutely gorgeous. Oh yes, so nice. And actually, I'm going to cut this upside down, because if I cut it the other way, I'm probably just going to be dragging all of the botanicals through the soap itself. Now, I don't have a clue how big this is, so I need each one to be 2.5 inches. That's not too bad, is it? All right, so I'm just going to put a little marker at 2.5 inches, and then I'll do the other one 2.5 inches. We should be good to go. So I'll do the same at the other side, and that will give me them for that way, and then I need to do the same this way. The best way to do this is to really create yourself a template. If it's a mould that you're going to be using over and over and over, and once you've got a template, it's going to really speed things up for you. There we go. Okay, now I generally use a much bigger knife than this, but this is really all I've got today, so we're just going to have to go with it. And I like to apply even pressure down the whole blade. So I'm going to cut through. And I can't actually cut the whole slab with this knife in one go. So I'm just going to move it down and then cut. So I always apply pressure on the top of the knife just to really help cut it. I don't have a lot of body strength anymore. So you find ways to adapt. I'm sure there are lots of you watching that also, are not super strong, or you have problems with your hands or your arms. So utilize as many ways to make it easy for yourself. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited by these. So by cutting this way, all of the petals, or all of the rosemary in this case, are going to be at the bottom, and it's going to stop them from dragging through the surface of the soap. And I'm not so bothered about drag marks, because you can smooth them out normally anyway, just with your fingers. But not getting them in the first place just helps, I guess. I'm looking forward to having this in my shower. All right. So I do need to do a clean up around the edges of these blocks. But there is my beautiful rosemary soap. And you can see all the sides are totally clean. We haven't got any drag at all on those, because we've cut the soap upside down. Don't these look just beautiful? Ooh, yes. Very nice. Well, I think those look absolutely lovely. I'm not even tempted to clean the edges up too much. I actually like that really rustic look with this one. I think if I was to bevel the edges and be too fussy with it, it might actually lose some of the appeal. But I would love to hear what you think. Do let me know in the comments. Would you finish this by beveling the edges, or would you keep it with that more rustic look? I do hope that you enjoyed today. Come visit me really soon. I always love hearing from you and knowing how you take these projects forward.